Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're taking a look at this therapy device, and I'm so excited to finally dig into this with you. We've been getting a lot of questions about this thing.
Yeah, a lot of buzz.
So we thought we'd break it down. We've got some clips from the inventor, Dan Winter, and his engineer, Paul, talking about how it works, and it gets kind of technical in places.
It does, yeah.
So we're going to do our best to pull out the key ideas and make it, a little more digestible for everybody. Our goal with this deep dive really is to just understand, like, what is this thing, what's it supposed to do, and how does it all connect to, physics and ancient history and all the stuff we love to geek out on.
Right, exactly.
So let's jump in. First off, what is this thing? Like, how would you describe the therapy device? What does it look like? What does it do?
It's, well, it's not the most beautiful device, aesthetically speaking.
Right.
It's kind of like a box with these two plasma tubes sticking out of it. And they generate they call it a bioactive field using a combination of light and sound.
A bioactive field. Okay, that sounds pretty fancy. Like, what does that even mean?
Basically, it's a field of energy that can interact with living organisms. So think about how light from the sun, right, can affect us. It helps our body produce vitamin D. This bioactive field, it's created using these plasma tubes, and they're filled with noble gases.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that the device's logo, it's actually based on these ancient Egyptian carvings that show like these two opposing plasma tubes.
Wait, are they saying the ancient Egyptians were using plasma tubes? Like, is that the connection?
Well, not necessarily tubes like we have today, but the inventor sees it as evidence that they understood something about these bioactive fields.
Right.
He talks about this Egyptian concept of Shem unto the Lord, which he interprets as this electric field that was used for like age prevention.
Whoa, so they were into anti-aging back then. I mean,
That's his interpretation, yeah. It's pretty wild. And he sees a lineage from those ancient practices, through Tesla, Lakhovsky, Pryor, all these guys who were experimenting with high voltage fields and their potential for rejuvenation.
Right. Okay, so we've got this ancient Egyptian connection. We've got Tesla, Lakhovsky, all these kind of pioneers of energy medicine. So how does it all come together in this therapy device? Like, what are the key components?
Well, there's the Tesla coil, of course, that's generating the high voltage.
Got it.
Then you've got the plasma tubes containing those energized noble gases, and then they use specific frequencies to create the desired effects.
Okay, Tesla coils and noble gases. I mean, it definitely sounds pretty high tech. But what's so special about these noble gases? Like, why those?
It has to do with their atomic structure. So noble gases are monoatomic, which means they exist as single atoms, and that makes them super stable. That's why they call them noble. They don't really react with other elements.
Oh, so that's where the noble comes from. Interesting. But how does that stability, how does that tie into creating this, like, healing field?
Well, the inventors believe that this nobility, this stability, allows them to complete what they call a collapse process.
A collapse process. Okay.
And it's a perfectly organized flow of energy, and that's what they believe drives the healing and the rejuvenation.
Oh, I see. So it's like, it's not just throwing energy at the body, it's about creating this specific type of energy flow.
Yeah, exactly. They call it implosion.
Implosion.
Yeah, and it's this idea of drawing energy from the vacuum. Like, imagine a whirlpool pulling everything towards its center.
Whoa, so it's like a mini black hole of healing energy.
Kinda, yeah. They compare it to the work of Victor Scharberger, who was this, this guy who designed like implosive water vortexes that could actually generate energy.
Oh, wow. That's why. Okay, so we've got this implosion thing going on, powered by the noble gases, and it all comes down to their, like, atomic stability. What else? What are some of the other, like, scientific principles behind the device? Like, what else is important to know?
One of the key concepts is this thing called phase conjugation.
Phase conjugation, okay.
And well, imagine you throw a rock into a pond, right? And you see those waves ripple outwards. Phase conjugation would be like those waves suddenly reversing direction and converging back to the point where the rock entered the water.
Interesting. So instead of the energy dispersing, it's being concentrated.
Precisely. And that concentration leads to something called negentropy.
Negentropy. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's basically the opposite of entropy, which is like disorder and chaos. Negentropy is about creating order, structure, complexity. Think about how a seed grows into a plant that's negentropy in action.
Oh, okay. I see. So it's like the therapy device is promoting this self-organization within the body.
That's the idea, yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And this phase conjugation, this like focusing of energy, that's how they achieve that.
Exactly. They believe that this implosive, negentropic energy flow, that's the key to healing and rejuvenation.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so far we've got this device generating a bioactive field through implosion phase conjugation, and it's all powered by these like special properties of noble gases. Anything else that's like crucial to understanding how this thing works?
Well, one thing they talk about is the type of plasma that's being generated,
Hey,
because we usually think of plasma as being super hot, like the sun, right?
right.
But this device, it creates what they call cold plasma.
Cold plasma.
Yeah, and it's where the phase conjugation process, it allows for a cloud of charge to exist without heat.
Interesting. So it's not like burning you up, anything.
Right, and get this. They actually compare this cold plasma to the human aura.
Wait, they're suggesting we have our own energy fields, and this device, it's like interacting with those fields.
That's the idea. And it makes you wonder, right, like if our own energy fields can be influenced by external fields, what does that mean for our overall well-being?
That's a really good point. And they're saying that the environment, like where the device is, that plays a role too, right? Like the surroundings matter?
Big time, yeah. They emphasize this concept of biologic architecture,
Okay.
which is this idea that the materials in our surroundings can actually affect our energy fields and therefore our health.
So it's not just about the device itself, it's about the context it's used in.
Exactly. They argue that things like metal, synthetic materials, they can disrupt these fields, while natural materials, they enhance them.
Oh, interesting.
They even shared this anecdote about I think her name was Joyce, a therapist who was using this negative ion wind therapy device.
Okay.
And she found it worked best in rooms with lots of natural elements, like wood and plants. But if she was in an environment with lots of metal and synthetics, it was way less effective.
Wow, so the choice of building materials, the overall environment, it can actually impact how well these types of technologies work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes you think about all the spaces we inhabit every day.
Right. And speaking of environment, the placement of the first therapy device is pretty interesting.
Yeah, where is it?
It's in the Bosnian pyramids.
The Bosnian Pyramids.
Yeah, which is a site that's, known for its natural energy and these like rejuvenating properties.
Whoa, okay, that's fascinating. What's the connection there? Like, why the pyramids?
They believe that the pyramids themselves, they function as, get this, phase conjugate dielectric capacitor.
Phase conjugate dielectric capacitors. Okay, you have to break that down.
Basically, their structure, the way they're layered, and this infrasound resonance, it creates a naturally implosive energy field, similar to what the therapy device is doing, but on a much larger scale.
So the pyramids are like giant energy amplifiers.
Yeah.
And they put the device there because of that.
Yeah, it highlights this connection between environment and well-being. If places like the Bosnian pyramids can naturally enhance our energy fields, it makes you wonder, what does that mean for the spaces we create in our own lives?
That's such a good question. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the basic components of the therapy device. We talked about implosion, phase conjugation, negentropy, the importance of the environment, and this wild connection to ancient knowledge and the pyramids. But the big question, I think, on everybody's mind is, what does this thing actually do? Like, what kind of effects does it have on the body?
That's what we're going to dig into next.
I can't wait.
It's really interesting when you think about it. All these complex scientific principles we've been talking about with the therapy device,
Right.
They're not actually, totally new ideas.
Yeah, that's true. We talked about the ancient Egyptian connection, and it seems like the inventor really sees this as tapping into some ancient wisdom about healing and rejuvenation.
Exactly, yeah. That whole concept of Shem unto the Lord as an electric field for age prevention, it's a really intriguing interpretation.
It is, yeah.
It suggests that maybe ancient civilizations had a much deeper understanding of, energy and its effects on the human body than we give them credit for.
So it's not just about the technology, it's also about rediscovering lost knowledge.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like we're piecing together this puzzle using modern science to unlock these secrets that maybe were known to, ancient cultures, but they've been forgotten over time.
And the pyramids seem to be a big part of that puzzle.
Definitely.
Like we talked about how the first therapy device is in the Bosnian pyramids.
Right.
And how those structures, they're thought to create these powerful energy fields of their own.
Yeah. It's just so fascinating to think that these huge structures align with the stars, built with such precision that maybe they were more than just tombs.
Right.
What if they were designed to like harness and amplify energy for healing and maybe even like spiritual purposes?
It does make you wonder, if the ancient Egyptians and maybe other cultures who built pyramids, if they knew something that we're only now starting to, like, rediscover.
And, the fact that the Bosnian pyramids are thought to be like much older than the Egyptian pyramids,
Right.
it just adds this whole other layer of mystery.
It's like we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
And there's this whole, like, vast body of knowledge hidden beneath the surface.
That's a great analogy. And the therapy device, with its roots in both modern science and ancient wisdom, it could be a key to uncovering more of that hidden knowledge.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about, like, energy fields and implosion and phase conjugation.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for someone using the device? Like, what kind of experience might they have?
Well, that's where things get a little more speculative because, most of the evidence we have is anecdotal. But the reports from people who've actually used the device, they're definitely interesting.
So, like, what are people saying? What kind of effects are they reporting?
Well, a lot of people report pain relief, often like pretty rapid and dramatic. They mentioned one case, someone who had stainless steel in their foot.
Stainless steel in their foot.
Ouch. Yeah, and they experienced like significant pain reduction after just one session with the device.
Wow. Do they know why it seemed to help in that specific case?
They didn't go into detail in the source material,
Okay.
but it definitely raises some interesting questions about how the therapy device might be interacting with, metal in the body.
Yeah, definitely highlights the need for more research for sure.
Absolutely.
To really understand, like, how it works and what it can be used for. What other effects have people reported?
There are also reports of like accelerated healing. They described this case where someone had pretty severe periodontitis.
Periodontitis, that's a gum disease, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they saw significant improvement after treatment with the device. The healing was so noticeable that their doctor actually canceled a surgery that was planned.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. But, it's important to be cautious with these anecdotal reports.
Of course.
We can't draw any like definitive conclusions based on personal experiences alone.
Right.
We need, rigorous scientific studies to really confirm these effects and determine the safety and the efficacy of the device for a wider range of conditions.
But while those stories are, definitely intriguing,
Yeah.
it's important to, like, wait for more scientific evidence before making any, big claims.
Exactly. But I think it's fair to say that the therapy device, with this unique approach to harnessing energy and those like fascinating connections to ancient knowledge,
Right.
it has the potential to open up like these whole new avenues for healing and well-being.
It does feel like we're on the cusp of, like, this new understanding of how energy interacts with the human body.
I think so.
And the therapy device, it could be like a catalyst for some really exciting discoveries in the field of healing.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a fascinating area of exploration. And it's clear that the device is like making us think differently about health, and this interconnectedness of our bodies, our environment, maybe even like our place in the cosmos.
It's like we're being invited to expand our awareness and consider possibilities that, just a few years ago might have seemed like science fiction.
And speaking of expanding our awareness, I think this leads us really nicely into like the philosophical and spiritual dimensions of the therapy device, which is what we'll delve into next.
We've covered so much ground already.
Yeah.
The science behind the therapy device, the ancient connections, the reported effects.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of bioactive fields and the importance of our environment, it feels like there's something bigger here.
It's almost a philosophy if
Yeah.
we accept that, the materials in our homes can impact our energy fields. It changes how we view our surroundings,
So it's like a call to be more mindful, more aware of the energy that we're surrounded by.
Exactly. Remember Joyce, the therapist who found that her negative ion device worked best in rooms with natural materials?
Yeah.
What if we applied that thinking to, our homes, our workplaces, our cities even?
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So, like, instead of just thinking about, how a space looks, we would also consider its energetic qualities.
Precisely. This whole idea of biologic architecture, it's not just about using wood and stone because it looks nice. It's about creating spaces that resonate with our own, natural frequencies, supporting the flow of of life force energy.
So it's like we become energy architects,
Mm.
shaping the spaces around us to promote well-being.
Yeah.
But isn't that a bit idealistic? Like, most of us can't just rebuild our homes from scratch.
Right. Of course, not everyone can live in a pyramid or a forest, but there are smaller steps we can take. Bringing nature indoors with plants, choosing natural fabrics for our clothes and furniture, even being mindful of, the clutter in our homes. These things can make a difference.
So it's not just about, like, these huge gestures. It's about making, like, conscious choices in our everyday lives.
Exactly. Think about places that have a naturally, calming or rejuvenating energy, A quiet spot in nature, a beautiful cathedral. We can learn from those spaces and try to bring some of those qualities into our own environments.
It's like we become more attuned to the energy of a space rather than just its, visual appearance.
And that awareness, it can extend beyond our physical surroundings.
Okay.
Remember those core principles of the therapy device phase: conjugation, implosion, and entropy.
Yeah.
They're not just scientific concepts. They're reflections of how energy works in the universe.
Okay. I'm following you.
Yeah.
But how do we apply those principles to, like, something as abstract as our thoughts or emotions?
Well, think about it. Phase conjugation is about creating order and coherence. So instead of letting our minds race with, scattered thoughts and worries, we can practice focusing our attention, cultivating a sense of inner peace.
Oh, so it's like we're bringing that principle of implosion inward, like creating a sense of centeredness and calm within ourselves.
Exactly. And that inner coherence, it can then radiate outward,
Right.
influencing our relationships, our work, even our impact on the world.
That's a powerful thought. It's like we each have the potential to become like a mini therapy device, generating a field of positive energy that extends beyond ourselves.
It's true. And it makes you wonder, right? If we can all learn to cultivate this inner coherence, what kind of world could we create?
A world where, healing is not just about treating disease, but about cultivating well-being at, like, every level.
Right.
A world where technology is used to enhance life, not control it.
Exactly.
A world where, our connection to nature is a guiding principle, not an afterthought.
It's an inspiring vision, and the therapy device, in a way, it's like a symbol of that possibility. It reminds us that we're not just, passive recipients of our environment.
Right.
We have the power to shape it, both internally and externally.
It's like a call to action, isn't it? A reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a healthier, more harmonious world.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listener. You are not powerless.
Right.
You have the ability to make choices that support your well-being and contribute to a more beautiful world.
Well, it's been an incredible journey diving deep into this therapy device with you. We went from the technical details to, like, the philosophical implications, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore, and
Right.
I encourage our listener, to continue this journey of discovery. Question, experiment, see how you can apply these principles to your own life.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope it sparked some new ideas, inspired you to think differently about, the interconnectedness of our bodies, our minds, and our environment. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of possibility.